Video. Looks a little dark to me. Okay, not bad. Not too bad. All right, I'm gonna try to jump up live on Facebook. If we can get all the technical stuff figured out, I'll definitely get into the session here because this is technically this would be the first live dream session on YouTube. Hopefully, I could get it to work out on Facebook. I'm just not live there yet, but we'll see. It's tough. It's tough to tag people. Honestly, I need another mouse. I need another keyboard. I mean, I have another mouse here, but that's not working at the moment for some reason. Uh, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to double check everything, make sure our audio is okay. I'll have to check externally here. I'm gonna throw up some tags. Not sure. Not sure how this is all gonna work out, but I mean, we're here. We're trying. This will be the second attempt. Can't be too bad, right? I don't know. I'm still new to all this software and stuff, and even just going live on YouTube. But this is what everyone voted for. I was thinking about. Okay, someone said hi, hi, Resh. Hmm. I'm sorry. This is almost like a trial here. I'm trying to go live on multiple platforms. I don't really think this is gonna work out too well. Hola, what's good? What's good, Gusa? Yeah, I'm gonna try to get into this session. I don't think I'm gonna be able to stream it live from Facebook, so I'm just gonna share this to my Facebook page. Hi, hi, what's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Hi, hi, everyone. Okay, it looks like we got it. It looks like we're connected. Okay, what's up, people? Beautiful. This seems to be working. I'm gonna do my best to keep up with both live streams at the same time. Again, this is almost like a trial here. How's the audio sounding? Are we good? Because I was just up a minute ago and everything sounded crazy. I had to jump off and then jump back on. What are we doing in this stream? This, I mean, I'm kind of testing out my equipment and seeing how the YouTube live stream works from the phone here, but this is going to be a discussion about dreams and honestly how they got me where I'm at. This was voted for in a poll across all the platforms that I posted on. And people said they wanted to hear about my journey through dreams. I didn't, at the time, I wasn't streaming to YouTube. These are normally sessions that I do every week on Facebook, but I don't know. We're trying it on YouTube here. Hopefully, I can share it out and see what's going on. But yeah, I just want to talk about all the synchronicities that led me up to this point and how I learned how to lucid dream and just escape a lot of the stress and anxiety and struggles and fears and fighting in my life through dreams. Subbed. Thank you. I appreciate that, Zach. I appreciate it, man. That's beautiful. Awesome. Yeah, I'm not even sure. I'm trying to see if I'm live on Facebook yet, but it's not loading up for me. But yeah, we'll get into it. There's a lot to talk about. Oh, I know where we're at. I know why I'm not seeing it. All right, forget that. We're good. So, this is gonna be a long session probably, but I got to get up for work in the morning, so I'm not gonna go too crazy here. But throughout these sessions that I've been talking throughout the last like year or two, the major questions that I get from people are like, how do you induce lucid dreams and how do you become aware in your dreams? And I've been trying to talk about this for a long time. I got a lot of videos up there with a lot of simple and practical, straightforward tips and tricks. But everyone's journey is different. Everyone has different experiences, and there's only there is no one single way to successfully lucid dream. And of course, it's a process. For some people, it happens overnight. For me, it took a few years actually. But the main thing that sparked this in my mind and the topic for this session when I put it up for everyone to vote on it, it was like I was going up to after we put the kids to bed at night because we like to read to the kids every night before bed, and we had already read through. I went through multiple chapters with this kid and my son, my 10-year-old, and we read a little extra that night, and it was a little late, and I needed him to go to sleep. As I was walking past his door, I could hear him in there tossing and turning and huffing and puffing almost. And I walked in his room, and he told me he wasn't able to fall asleep. And that brought me back to when I was a young kid. I remember my mom telling me, just go to sleep. And I remember laying there thinking, like, how do you just shut off your brain? How can you just make yourself go to sleep if you're not tired? So I would lay there and just wonder. I would lay there wide awake many, many nights, and I didn't get much sleep for a long time. I had a lot of trouble sleeping actually when I was younger. It took me it took me a while to figure out different techniques and tactics to put myself to sleep. And I have videos on those, and we've talked about that in the past, all the different techniques, the little simple tricks that you can do, simple psychological tricks. That's not really the point of this video. But as I was a kid, these little things they developed into I was more curious over time about just consciousness because really putting yourself to sleep, trying to fall asleep, that really is a matter of consciousness, even though nobody even really understands what consciousness is. I started reading different books from authors that from different angles, all the occultic, the esoteric, and also like the scientific. One of them was Stuart Hameroff, and he's an anesthesiologist, and I think they have a good idea of what it means to put people to sleep. And the questions of consciousness come up a lot in their studies. So he wrote a lot of great books on consciousness. Throughout my childhood, I was reading those books and a lot of other similar ones. And I would have really just started with my journey to understanding dreams. And it took me probably years before I really got a solid foundation on controlling my dreams and how to manipulate them. But the one thing, the most inspiring thing for me, and these little signs always popped up throughout my life, these little synchronicities and things that showed me that dreams are more than just haptic feedback in the brain. I had a dream about my grandpa one night. I was young. I think I was about 8 years old, and I was dreaming about our house burning down. And it wasn't even I mean, I lived in a trailer at the time, so this house didn't exist, but it was a different type of house in my imagination. And these big old houses are a reoccurring theme in my dreams. But in this instance, the house was burning down and my grandpa was in the house, and I remember we got out, but he didn't, and my grandpa ended up dying in the house. And my mom woke me up from that dream, and I was startled, and I remember feeling flustered and scared, and I was breathing heavy. I remember I was sweating and breathing heavy, almost like I felt the heat from the flames while I was dreaming. And my mom woke me up to go to the hospital because my grandpa was in the hospital, the one that had died in the dream. And he actually ended up dying that night in the hospital. And I told people about it at the time, and I know, like, my sister, my mom, for a while, I had talked about this throughout my life, and it always made me wonder if dreams could really be premonitions, if it's possible to tap into the future, or if that was just a coincidence. So I researched it, and back then, there wasn't so much information so easily available online, but I started seeing a lot of anecdotal evidence that people could definitely see the future in their dreams. I always had this sense of adventure and exploration. This was back before cell phones, so I always liked to wander off in the woods and explore. I started reading a lot. I was always really interested in reading. I also like to write my own stories and draw my own pictures. And in doing that, I would visualize some of the characters for my stories and I would try to see them in my dreams at night. It started out really fuzzy, but eventually I would really solidify these characters and they would end up encompassing the story that I was writing at the time. And if I was writing that story throughout the day, I would go to sleep at night, and sometimes that story would continue in my dreams at night. So just knowing that and experiencing that, I wanted to be able to become lucid in my dreams. I wanted to wake up in my dreams so I could control them and see if I could lead these stories in different directions. And sometimes that would inspire what I would write in the story when I woke up the next day, if that makes sense. Like I said, I always wanted to explore, and another reason why I wanted to lucid dream was so that I could just get the experience of flying. Honestly, I remember, like, I would stay up late at night trying to practice these things, and again, like, I would always try to apply them to the stories I was writing, and I always loved reading, honestly. Language, the literary aspect has always been really, really strong in me. I would stay up late at night. I remember when my mom was telling me to go to sleep, and I was still trying to learn how to put myself to sleep at this time, but I would hide underneath my blankets with a flashlight so she wouldn't be able to see the light. I would have to make sure the corners were tucked in around me really well so that no light would get out from the thick blanket, and I would be reading books late, late into the night until eventually I taught myself how to fall asleep and how to lucid dream, and then I would look forward to going to sleep every night and living out these stories in my dreams. I remember literally, like, I would get home from school excited to go to sleep. I would clean my room, I would set up my bed real nice, I would put my journal right next to it so I could write down my dream the next day, and I started tracking my dreams. Throughout all of these dreams, there were some nights where I felt defeated, even if I was almost able to go lucid. I would have these nightmares of Freddy Krueger, as corny as it is, because I was watching those Freddy Krueger movies when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, and I would always, like, see the streaks from his claws. It would they would look like lights almost, but they would be the streaks of his claws. What up, Hudson?" And, it was a reoccurring theme throughout my dreams. I would see Freddy, and he would wake me up. So I wanted to learn how to beat him in my dreams. And since I knew, like, the premonitions, I knew the power of dreams. Once I had that dream about my grandpa dying and then woke up to him actually dying a few hours later, that's when I knew that there was something deeper to it. So I started tracking my dreams. I started tracking these dreams with Freddie, and as he started to come back in my dreams, it was really, like, no big deal. I could almost laugh him off. Once I got comfortable and learned how to wake up in my dreams by recognizing my dream signs, like big old houses, like I said, that was a reoccurring theme. So anytime I was in a big old house like that, I would ask myself if I'm dreaming. And that happened once with Freddie. And I was able to just make my fist bigger than my body. And I was able to just smash him and flatten him. And he never came back after that. And honestly, I think I was probably like 14 or 15 when I did that, and I haven't had a nightmare ever since. I honestly, I'm curious. At least I haven't remembered any nightmares since then, and I'm curious if I would ever be able to induce any type of terrifying scenes. So I've been experimenting with that a little bit lately. Hudson, you said, "Don't worry, I'm scared of scary movies because of my dreams." Yeah, yeah, I was as a kid, honestly. Once I learned how to become lucid through just simple, different practical tips, which I'm writing a book on how to go lucid right now, and I also have dream journals available. The number one step to going lucid and controlling your dreams is to keep a dream journal. Anywhere you look it up, you'll see that. So I started to learn that. Music was always really important to me throughout this. Like I started out writing stories, and I would create those stories in my dreams, and then wake up and write them down. So as I started to incorporate music, because the power of sound and language together was always fascinating to me, and I'm a lyricist, and I was writing my songs. Eventually, I ended up writing a song in my dreams. I remember there was that Jay-Z had that song called "Lyrical Exercise" way back in the day, and I'm not even, like, the biggest Jay-Z fan or anything, but he would talk about doing lyrical exercises, so I tried these exercises in my dreams to see if I could apply them and remember them when I woke up. It started out when I was trying to write a song and I was stuck. It wasn't like I have writer's block, because I don't really get writer's block, honestly. Anytime I'm writing, the biggest issue is having too much and not being able to put it all down coherently. I think that was from, like, a Cannabis song, but, yeah, it could be tough to say everything the way that you wanna say and make it fit, so I remember going to sleep at night thinking about that verse that I was trying to write. And in my dream, I ended up sitting up on my bed and picking up my notebook, and I started working on that verse. And I remember looking, and the words on the page looked really mixed up and jumbled, and they weren't making sense. And that's a common sign that you're dreaming. That's one way to recognize that you're dreaming, is to try to look at words coherently. So I realized I went lucid at that moment because I had been reading about dreaming and how to go lucid. I was relatively experienced at that point. I realized that I was dreaming, and I was looking at my notebook, and I was thinking about trying to finish that song. You're praying for me. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Cool. Yeah, I remember going to sleep and trying to finish that song in my dreams. Jay-Z had this song called "Lyrical Exercise" where he said, you can repeat a line and over until you memorize it, and then come up with the next line, and then repeat both of those lines, and then just keep adding on it and repeating it to yourself over and over. And it's like an exercise. And then, like, it's a lot of MCs are kind of famous for this, like, they don't write down their rhymes. They just go in there and they can make a song, and it's not a freestyle off the top of the dome, it's a structured verse that they remember and memorize every line to. So I tried to apply that to my dreams. It was because I had that dream where I was sitting there with my notebook, and I remember I was coming up with lyrics, and I thought to myself, "Let me write this down," because I knew I was dreaming, and I was logical enough to think about writing it down, because I knew I wasn't gonna remember it when I woke up, but I didn't think about the fact that when I woke up, everything I wrote down wasn't gonna be in the notebook anymore. I wasn't thinking that logically. A lot of times in dreams, you think you're being logical, but you're not. So the next night, I realized I should I should try to go lucid, and I should try that lyrical exercise in my dreams to see if I could come up with a line and repeat it over and over enough so that I would remember it when I woke up. And it took me over the course of a few weeks, actually, because I didn't go lucid every night, and I didn't remember my dreams every night. But over the course of a few weeks, I was able to structure together a coherent verse. I did fill in some gaps while I was awake, but 90% of the verse that I wrote, and it's a long verse, it's like 36 bars or something, I think, 38 bars. It was all I came up with all of it in my dreams. and that song is recorded, and I never put it out. I think I put out, like, a teaser of it many years ago, but and I still have it on my computer. One of these days, I'll drop it. It honestly, I didn't know how to produce, and I didn't have the best audio quality back then, so whatever. It's not the best sounding song, but it did work. Um, that once it's just all of these little synchronicities, all these little successes that I had as I was going through experimenting with dreams, these things showed me, they just reinforced in my mind the fact that there's more to dreams, that they're not just haptic feedback. I really started getting into like the metaphysics of it at that point. I read The Secret, uh, What the Bleep Do We Know, which is almost like the quantum physics version of The Secret, both very simple pop culture type uh, readings, but it's a great introduction into the new age mentality and the law of attraction and stuff like that. And I knew that there was more to it than just what The Secret says, but I also knew that there was something to what they were saying. I knew that there was something powerful in the mind and the manifestation of reality. I didn't really know exactly how powerful it could be until I was trying to go to sleep one of these nights and I was going through one of my practices like I was talking about earlier. But something I wanted to experiment with was visualizing the next day. I was not looking forward to this. I've always had jobs. Even when I was young, I was doing carpentry with my dad. I know, Dad, you'll probably end up seeing this. Doing all those roofs back in the day and the decks and renovating houses. Sometimes we were building houses from the ground up. Really, really hard work. And it's funny because the job I have now, I see people complain, and it's like you could tell none of them been on a construction crew working for a bunch of old school carpenters. you know, that's a different breed. But I remember I was dreading going to work the next day. I was not looking forward to it. I was tired, and I just figured in s I could create a somewhat good experience in my brain. Like I said, I would look forward to going to sleep every night so I could have all types of fun in my dreams. So I wanted to induce a good dream about the next day. So before I went to sleep, I visualized the next day. And I remember I got really meticulous with it. I visualized every detail. And this is a good practice for visualization in general, is to try to hold this stream and keep a conscious stream going of action. So I visualized myself literally sitting up, stretching, yawning, throwing my legs over the edge of the bed and climbing down off of the bed. And I tried to visualize every single moment and see how far I would be able to get throughout to the day. And that's every single second. So I picture myself going down the hallway, going to the bathroom, going to get my coffee, and I just pictured it all going really smooth and comfortably. And I picture myself having a great day. And every time I would get distracted, I would catch myself trailing off. Maybe just that's what happens when you're laying there and you get lost in your thoughts. And I would try to snap back from the beginning and replay it in detail from beginning to end. And I just picture myself having a really great day at work, making money, coming home, feeling okay, eating some great food. Regardless, I remember the next day, it was, like, the best day that I had had at work in a long time. It felt great, and I remember at the end of the day thinking, "Did that have anything to do with what I was doing the night before?" And maybe it did, so I started experimenting with that more and more, and I realized just like some of these more detailed books explain about manifestation and stuff, it's not always a direct reflection as you think it will be, but things do manifest from your mind. And that's why they say God works in strange ways, but I say the universe works in strange ways, honestly. And that was I mean, I don't know how we're looking on time. My PC don't isn't even telling me the right time. But yeah, after that, and throughout my childhood, even as I was going through a lot of these journeys, I was still a young punk. Like, I'm not trying to paint the picture of like some guru or anything. Like, I wasn't I did meditate a lot more than I do now actually, but I was still more troubled back then, and I think that's why I needed the meditation more. Now and obviously more meditation would be beneficial to me, but with 3 kids and a full-time job and these crazy schedules, it's like I have to find my meditation in the little moments, the little 5, 10, 15 minutes that I get when I get to step off to the side and have a smoke or something. But back then, I think I needed the meditation, and I was a lot more troubled, honestly, back then as a youth, and it took me a long time to really get myself grounded. I don't think I had any trouble finding myself. I found myself at a young age, but just getting myself grounded. I was really into fighting. Physical combat was a big thing to me. Back in the day, just having a good face off, a good one-on-one with people, that was the best. And then, as you get older, things escalate and things get a lot more serious, and the consequences are a lot greater as you grow and as things change. So I learned that, and it wasn't the type of path that I wanted to go down. So it was like around the time when like right before I graduated, I used to, hello, Javaris Anderson. Hi. Yeah, like it was I struggled through school. I failed a lot. I've had to do summer school. Summer school was actually I went to Pocono Mountain East. Summer school was in the West school where a lot of the enemies were at, and I had a lot of beef with a lot of those guys, and that was trouble. But around my junior year, my senior year, I started to take it more serious. I started to enjoy learning. I actually had some really great teachers that made an impact on me at that point, and I was able to get it together. I started to try more, and I got amazing grades my last 2 years in high school. But up to that point, it was a struggle. I didn't do good at all. And it wasn't because I couldn't, it was because I really just didn't try. I was too distracted, by just teenage drama in general. So by the time I graduated school, I started to get a firm grasp on how I can manifest things in my daily life and through dreams and different visualization practices that worked for me. And a lot of them were adapted from meditation books that I read, but a lot of them were really they were an amalgamation of different techniques that I had learned throughout the years, and I would fit them in to work for me personally because everyone's different. Everyone's psyche is different. I think most of us inherently understand that. But wasn't really looking forward to dreaming every night anymore. That lasted for a few years, but once I graduated high school and had my kid, things changed a lot. I had to, my life was dedicated to him at that point. My son was everything. I ended up having to work 2 jobs. I was working 7 days a week. I had very, very little time to myself and very, very little time to sleep. I was still trying to work on music at that point, but it was tough. And I mean, I was young, and I figured while I'm young, let me do it while I can and make that money. And it was good at the time. I don't regret it. But I'm just grateful that I was able to find a job where I can work normal hours, pay my bills better than I was before, and not have to struggle like that. Because I went a few years without having any dreams at all. I still studied a lot of these topics, metaphysics and quantum mechanics and stuff like that. I was always on it. Ancient history and symbolism has always fascinated me, and I've got my library over there. I worked through most of those books on that shelf. And I started to notice synchronicities throughout my life more and more. Little moments of deja vu. And I've told this story before, but because I hadn't been dreaming for a while, I was working too much. I did come across my old dream journals because I had tracked my dreams throughout all those years previously. and I was reading through some old dreams. Just out of curiosity, I started to notice more patterns in my dreams, and it kind of inspired me to make me want to start dreaming more. But one dream stood out to me, and it was just something simple. It was nothing crazy, which is why it was strange that it stood out to me so much, and I wrote it in so much detail. But the dream was of me at work in the kitchen, and the dishwasher was over there scrubbing his dishes, and I was spinning this plate on on my fingers, trying to make it balance, and he told me, "Don't drop that," or whatever. He's like, "'Cause then you're gonna have to sweep it up yourself," or something like that. It's been so many years, actually, but then so this was, that dream, and I it's always important to write the date at the top of the page when you're recording your dreams, and this is why, because the date on that was for I think it was, like, 8 months. It was less than a year, but it was from a while ago, and I was reading this dream that was from almost a year ago, and then that night, I went to work and caught at the time when I read the dream, I didn't think too much of it, but I caught myself in the kitchen, and I had the plate in my hand, and I felt compelled to start spinning the plate on my fingers, and that's when it all snapped for me. That's when I realized I had that intense moment of deja vu that I think we've all experienced before. And that moment, I realized that I've experienced this before. I felt this. I looked over at the dishwasher, and before he even said what he was going to say, I knew what he was going to say. I couldn't get it out fast enough to say it along with him, but I wanted to. But I stopped and I told him, I was like, man, I've been here before. I've seen this before. He said, "Yeah, okay, like deja vu," and I was like, "Yeah, but it's more than that." And I was thinking, and I realized this is what I was reading in my dream journal from so long ago. This happened a while ago, and back when I wrote that dream down, I didn't even know that dishwasher. He wasn't even working there at that time. So that was like it literally sends chills up my spine. That was a huge moment of revelation for me. After having that dream about my grandpa dying and then him passing away after that, and then realizing that this dream I had, this moment of deja vu, it it it, uh, it all came to fruition in that moment, and that flipped a huge switch in my brain and inspired me to start wanting to explore my dreams again even more, and I knew that I could take it to the next level, honestly, at that point. I mean, the issue was I was still working crazy jobs, so I knew I had to figure out a way to get myself out of that. I had to manifest a path away from that. I didn't know what it would be or how it would work or what would end up happening, but I knew that there had to be a way for me to get out of that and divert my path, honestly. Hold on a second. Let me check in over here and see how we're looking. Because I'm not even looking at my Facebook. I don't even know if I'm getting comments. Okay, okay, we're cool. There it is. All right, looks good. Yeah, this stuff is crazy. So I realized that my dream was what caused my deja vu. It's weird to think that maybe every moment that we have of deja vu, maybe it only feels like we've been there before because we've been there in our dreams. I think if more people wrote down their dreams every night and tried to learn how to remember their dreams, I think more people would have those moments of deja vu and they would realize that it was a dream that they had. Because I've asked people about this. A handful of people have told me that they've had similar experiences. I just think most people don't track their dreams enough and don't keep up with them enough. And I think that honestly, there would be a lot more evidence for this. I do think even if you think that moments of deja vu are you tapping into some other parallel realities, Maybe that's what dreams are in general. Maybe dreams are you tapping into other parallel realities. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. But yeah, how's everyone feeling out there? You said you write your dreams down. You have 5 years of dream. Beautiful. That's awesome. Do you track them? Have you tried to, like, notice any patterns in your dreams to how do you work through them? Do you become lucid? That because I think that's one of the most powerful things about yes, okay, yeah, I think that's one of the most powerful things about writing your dreams down is that you can find patterns and consistencies and then find ways to manipulate these them or influence them, I would say. Yeah, always lucid dreaming. That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful. My goal, honestly, my goal for the next year or two, or maybe I guess I would put it in my 5-year plan, is to get at least 20 people to lucid dream effectively and to be able to problem solve in a lucid dream one way or another because there's so many different ways to approach that. So that's why I'm working on this book on how to effectively lucid dream. And it's just a really simple, straightforward, and I'm making it available for free. I'm not trying to sell or make any type of money off of it. I just really it's a lot of information I think a lot of people can use. And I've put a lot of these tips in videos in these live videos before, but some of these videos are like 3 hours long or so. And I pull out the highlights from them, but for people that aren't gonna sit and watch all the videos in order, I think it'd be great to just have a downloadable PDF or something for them to read and to apply some of these simple practical tips on how to lucid dream. And I'm not like any type of master with it at all. I think it's an ongoing journey and I'm still learning, but I've been through a lot so far, especially over the last I think I've been lucid dreaming for about 18 years now. So there's a lot that I've learned. It is. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. So I'm going to try to this is the information I'm trying to share here. I've been going live on Facebook every week, but I wanted to figure out a way to get this out to the world. I always enjoyed writing. I enjoyed putting my music out there, but to get like straightforward, solid, consumable information for people, sometimes music is a great way to connect, but for a lot of people it's not. So I'm hoping this can be a good bridge for them. And I'm going to start putting this information out there. And I've been going live like I said every week on Facebook for the last year and a half or so, and there's been an amazing community built up, and it's incredible to see how much I've learned from everyone, and then how much this information can get shared and integrated across groups. It's inspiring, and it's a beautiful thing to see, honestly. It's unbelievable. I never really would have expected this. I've always been anti internet and anti social media for so many years, but I realized that was just a hindrance. I just after trying to escape those working 2 jobs and barely even scraping by, I realized that there had to be a better way, and one of those ways was to try to embody something that I already loved. I was always trying to look for different side hustles and stuff and always doing work on the side, picking up extra hours wherever I could, helping friends out when they need help on a job. That's that's what I always did. But I realized throughout every job I've had, every time I'm talking to someone and just people in my life and my family too. My sister, I'm sure sister, you're gonna end up seeing this. Just seeing the changes that happen in people once you start to share this information with them, it creates it it reciprocates in a lot of different ways and not just a linear way either in so many different ways. And I realized that, so I figured like maybe there's a way that I could put this out to the world. The internet is the way to do this now. I remember having a conversation with my teacher when I was really young. This was like middle school, I think. And I remember him it was about what we want to be when we grow up. When I was really young, I wanted to be a Native American and go move and live off the grid because I do have Native American blood in me. And I always connected with that culture. I wanted to go live in a cabin in Montana. Eventually, I realized that wasn't really smart. I started to think about if I wanted to have kids, would I want to bring kids into that type of environment? I don't know. I feel like that would automatically be setting them back. So I figured I would give them the choice. If they wanted to go live off the grid, then they could do that. But if I'm going to have children, I want to give them the best modern integrated and healthy lifestyle I possibly could for them. Because my family, we didn't come from much at all. I had a lot of love. There was also a lot of chaos, a lot of fighting, but my parents did the best they can, and they know that, and they know I appreciate them for that, but there was a lot of insanity for a long time, and it took me a while to learn how to balance that in my mind. And I always felt like between the family, I was the mediator. And a lot of them pointed that out to me throughout the years. And I started to realize that between all of them, a lot of the fighting that they had and stuff, I would try to be the one in between. I wasn't the one going through drama with either side. And I was never good at picking sides, especially when it came to family or friends even. In school, I did the same thing. Even if there was different sets, different groups of kids that didn't get along, a lot of times I would find common ground between the two. So, I had a conversation with my teacher about what I want to be when I grow up. I didn't want to go live off the grid anymore. So I figured, and I don't know why I said it at the time, but I told him I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and I remember him laughing almost like that okay kid type of laugh, like he like almost like he thought that was cute, but he said, "First you have to go through things that to speak about before you can be a motivational speaker." You said you were able to work through your family stuff with lucid dreaming. Me too, believe me. Me too. All types of lucid dreaming practices have helped me get through different different trouble that my family has been through. There's a lot. There's a lot. I don't like to air out all of that, but lucid dreaming definitely, I don't know if it didn't save me, it made me who I am. It's a big part of who I am, honestly. And I realized that through this was around the time, like right after I graduated high school and stuff, and I started going through some of this, I realized that lucid dreaming really helped make me who I was. I wouldn't be who I was up to that point if I didn't go through all those experiences. Problem solving in dreams is really effective. I have a whole video about that, how different people have solved problems in their dreams throughout history. There's a lot of famous cases of that, and it actually makes sense how we're able to do that, because I do think that the subconscious brain is more capable of long-term complex calculations, and it's able to manage these things. Although it might seem like it's in an abstract manner, it's probably the most effective manner, the most effective way to piece these things together for our conscious mind to understand it, so that that conversation between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind happens through dreams, I believe. That I don't think that's all that dreams are. I think there's so much more than that, but I do think that's a big part of it. One thing that really bothers me is like when people tell me that dreams don't really mean anything. They say, people think that dreams are just this haptic feedback. Like I said before, they just think it's the byproduct of our neurons firing off, trying to breathe and perform other things while we're sleeping. And then it's almost like the smoke from the fire. It's just a result of our neurological activity. Some people really believe that, and they believe that there's nothing more to dreams, that that's all they could be. But I definitely, besides having dreams about the future, I've always felt like there was a lot more to them than just that. Although they could be that, that could be a part of it. You could say that some of that activity is happening from the haptic feedback of our neurons. They call that the activation synthesis hypothesis, or the activation synthesis theory. And I do think that there's definitely something to that, but there's got to be a lot more to it. It bothers me. The main issue I have when trying to get this message across of how important dreams can be, the biggest issue I have, the biggest resistance that I meet is with these people that believe there's nothing more to dreams, and most of them honestly are atheists. For the most part, it seems like religious people have a deeper respect for the power of dreams because throughout all religious practices, dreams are really prominent in all of the writings, especially the modern day King James Bible. Dreams are really prominent throughout all of that. So religious people don't have a problem accepting that there's something deeper to dreams, even if they believe they're just messages from God. But it's the atheists, the fundamental atheists, the conservative atheists who only believe that dreams are just a byproduct of our neurons firing off. They're really nothing. It's just little mirages of what you've experienced throughout the day blended with your imagination a little bit. That's basically seems to be what I hear from most of them. That's what they believe the dreams are generally. I think that's a pretty accurate description. I think most of them would agree with that. But my argument is that even if you don't believe anything more dogmatic or anything esoteric about dreams, even if you're just about the physical fundamental science of it, I you can make a strong argument that dreams are necessary for life, that if you don't dream, you'll die. No, we need food, we need water. We don't even technically need shelter under the right environments. In the right environment, you could survive without shelter. So I think dreams are actually more important than shelter for survival because if you deprive someone of dreams, they will get psychosis. They will develop psychosis and they will eventually drive themselves mad. We think that we need sleep to survive, but there's a strong argument to make that we need dreams to survive. We can rest, our bodies can rest w- even without going into deep states of sleep. But you can't dream without going into deep states of sleep. And they've learned this through experiments. They could put people to sleep, make sure that they get plenty of sleep, but just wake them up before they reach the REM stage, before they're able to have those lucid dreams or those powerful dreams. Because you dream all throughout the night and all throughout different stages of sleep. They know that now. They used to think people would only dream in REM sleep, but they learn that you could even dream in the hypnagogic state. They're just slightly different frames of reference, but REM state is when you have the most vivid dreams. That's when you have the most intense, vivid dreams. But you could dream all throughout the night, and you can even dream when you're in deep sleep. And deep sleep is when you have the most restorative sleep. That's when your body's healing the most. And the interesting thing is that if they let people achieve these states of sleep, but every time their brain activity picks up and shows that they're dreaming, they wake them up and they interrupt their dreams. So they end up letting them get lots of periodic sleep, but they don't let them stay in a dream state. They don't let them experience any dreams. People will develop psychosis and they will literally go insane. So dreams are fundamental for our survival. I think there's a really strong argument to make there. But even if you believe that dreams are just haptic feedback and they're not even necessary, a lot of these atheists that I talk to, it's the religious people. That's a whole different argument. I could get into it with them about different things, but as far as the atheists go, a lot of them, I ask them, they think, why do we dream? they say because we sleep. And it's like, okay, so why do we sleep? And most of them will just say because we get tired. Because that's not really a good answer for me. I'm not satisfied with that. Because like I said, the body can heal and the body can restore even in deep states of meditation. You don't necessarily have to go deep into sleep for your body to heal. People need these dreams to heal, really. But even if you believe that, saying that we go to sleep because we're tired, our bodies get tired because they need to rest. That's like saying that we eat because we're hungry. We need to eat, so we get hungry. And I think that even if that's your argument, even if you think that we dream because we have to sleep, we sleep because we get tired, that shouldn't stop you from wanting to explore it more. I think people who studied the digestive system and ended up finding out more information about health and nutrition, I think they did a great service to humanity, and they continue to do a great service to humanity throughout the years. I think the modern understanding of biology and how our inner systems work and our gut biome and everything. I think that's really important, and I think it's great that we've learned that. So even if dreams are just a byproduct of this sleep, and even if we only sleep because we get tired, that's like saying we only eat because we get hungry, but that shouldn't stop you from exploring it more. That doesn't mean that there's not more that you can learn about dreams. There's so much to explore in that aspect. And that always inspired me to try to share this information with other people and the experiences that I've had. And another thing that people say to me a lot, another barrier that I find here with trying to share this information is that a lot of people talk about how they don't dream. A lot of people claim that they don't have dreams, which is interesting to me. I know that most people don't realize it, and I've had people argue this against me, but it's a fact that everybody dreams just about every night. Again, unless you suffer from severe insomnia or some other type of psychological disorders, or some drugs and alcohol, high levels of alcohol can definitely distort that. There are exceptions to the rule, but the people who aren't dreaming are going to end up losing their damn minds if they don't end up getting into a state of sleep where they can dream. Other than that, everyone dreams every night. And they know this because every experiment that has ever been done, when they hook up these EEG meters to people and they track their brain activity, they've seen that everyone they've ever looked at that had a full night's sleep ended up having multiple periods of dream states throughout the night every time they test it. So everyone dreams every night. Most people don't remember them. Even if you have a really intense dream, they've learned that you can have an intense dream. You could even have a lucid dream where you wake up, you realize you're dreaming. You can do whatever you want in that dream, have an amazing time, all sorts of excitement, and then you can wake up and still not remember it, even after a lucid dream. They've done this because they've done these experiments with people. And I mean, I've explained it before, but they have people give different eye signals while they're sleeping with their eyes closed. They can move their eyes in certain directions to show that they're in a lucid dream and that they're aware. And it with the with the brain scanners, it shows that they're asleep, that they're in REM sleep, that the different regions of their brain responsible for REM sleep are lighting up, and then these people give them the signal that they're aware that they're dreaming. And through that, they realize that sometimes people still wake up and don't remember their dreams. So the biggest barrier for people is to just start remembering their dreams. And I've realized that I've said it before, once you get a dream journal, it just kind of flips that switch in your brain and it'll help you to remember those dreams more. I have lots of different tips and tricks on how to remember dreams. and I put up videos about it all the time, and like I said, I'm working on that book about it. So so yeah, that's pretty much what got me interested in these dreams. That's pretty much my journey through it. Now that I've realized that I could bring this information to the world, and I've gotten all this feedback from people, and people have started telling me their stories, and I've been doing these interviews with all of these amazing people and learning all these great stories, because everyone's got a great story, and dreams are another way of us to relay these great stories. So I realized that I could bring this to the world, and this was a great way to do it. And even though I was working for a long time and I got out of touch with my dreams, I didn't get out of touch with the information, but I did kind of drift away from it. You know, I spent all my spare time trying to learn online marketing and different SEO tips and different ways to build online and try to make some sort of passive income online. So I was once I started to get a taste of that, I realized like, yes, people will send you money. People you never met will send you money for things and will pay for things, and you don't ever have to see them, and they'll pay for things that they can buy while you're sleeping. I got a little taste of that, so I wanted to take that and keep that momentum. You know, it's not like I wasn't happy with my job, and I'm grateful that I found such an amazing job that would pay my bills and still give me time on the side to work on my dream. But still working a full-time job and stuff, it was tough. And even if I could pay my bills and I can provide everything I need for myself and my kids, of course that's comes first, but I want to help more people. You know, the suffering in the world bothers me. I've always wanted to help more people, and I want to be able to help my family. I want to be able to get buy my mom a new house. You know, she's still living in the same trailer that I grew up in, and that trailer was old when I was young. You know, and she made it a loving home, but it shouldn't even be standing anymore. So I'm gonna buy my mom a house. You know, I'm gonna get my brother on his feet. You know, my older brother out there. Like, there's so many people I want to help. Seeing good people, good, hardworking, honest people struggle, it bothers me so much. So anything I can do to help them, I realize maybe I could pursue this, take it to the world. And once I started seeing the effect that it had on people, it was inspiring. And I realized that every dream I had up to that point led me here and inspired me to be here talking about this. Like I said, I had that conversation with my teacher and told him I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and he kind of laughed at me and he told me I had to live first to have things to speak about. I remember I went home and told my dad that the teacher said that to me. I was almost embarrassed about it, and I told my dad, and I laughed about it when I said it to him. I laughed like, yeah, you know, I realize I have to actually live first before I can speak. And I remember my dad, we were in the truck driving, and he looked over at me like I was crazy. He looked at me, he gave me this, you know, that close-eyed look that he would give me. He said, told me, Daniel, you've been through so much already. And he, you know, he said, you just have to tell your story. I think the issue was that my teacher didn't know my story. My teacher didn't know what I had been through at all, but my dad had a much better idea of that. And even though I was young at that point, I was already writing fantasy books and stuff. So he was right. That, you know, that really inspired me. So that's, you know, I started making music, and I thought that was a great way to be a motivational speaker. I could still consider myself a motivational speaker as a rapper if I'm making motivational songs in my raps. I thought that I thought that would still apply. But now I realize that there's multiple ways to share information, and I want to meet people where they are to try to share that information with them. And we all know video is taking over. So that's really what led me to these dream sessions. I realized I could still make the music. I always will make the music. And this whole brand has been it's really cohesive to me. I was really into the Harlem Renaissance for a short period of time. I mean, I get into different periods of history and I study them heavily. And I remember when I was into the Harlem Renaissance, reading about the different revolutionary writers and stuff, I came across the Langston Hughes book called The Dream Keeper, which is a collection of his poems, but it's titled from the one poem in there specifically called The Dream Keeper. And in that poem, he talks about people bringing him their dreams so that he could hold them and keep them safe from this cruel, harsh world, basically. And I really felt like I could relate to that. So up to that point, I always called myself DK, but that's where I really incorporated the Dream Keeper acronym for it. I even made a song prior to reading that poem where I used the term Dream Keeper. I just didn't know that it was a Langston Hughes poem at the time. So it all kind of came full circle at that point. You know, I at there was a certain point where I was very anti-religion, and I wanted to argue against religious people, and I wanted to be able to provide valid arguments and still understand where they were coming from. So I started to read the Bible and I started to study it, and I realized it wasn't all that bad. Like, I mean, it's still not like my favorite thing to read, and I actually haven't read it in years. But I did get really deep into the book of Daniel in the Bible because my name is Daniel. And as I started to read the book of Daniel, realizing that he was the interpreter of dreams, and just the overarching message, it was incredible how the king wanted to reward Daniel and his people with meat and alcohol, or meat and wine and gold or jewels. And Daniel told him to keep the meat and keep the wine and keep the jewels, and just give him and his people water and vegetables. At least that was the translation that I read at that time. I know it's loose and there's multiple slightly different translations, but Daniel told him, keep the wine and the meat, give us the water and the fresh food from the gardens. And as time went by, everyone could notice the distinct difference between Daniel and his people and the rest of the people, and how they seem to have all these different health issues. Really interesting, it was way ahead of its time. So, I love the book of Daniel. I actually grew to appreciate the Bible. I still have my issues with it, and I still think there's all types of issues with it, but for all the atheists out there that think it's just a bunch of nonsense, no, there's a lot of amazing, beautiful lessons to learn. It's just you gotta have an open mind. For a period of time there when my son was young, I would have the Jehovah Witnesses knocking on my door, and I would invite them in because my mom always told me how my grandpa, the one who I had the dream about him dying, and then he died later on that night. That same grandpa, my mom always told me that he would invite the Jehovah Witnesses in, and he was not religious at all, but he would invite them in to have conversations with them and just to have a friendly debate with them. So I started to do this, and it turned into a whole ordeal. These It was one lady in particular, and she would come to my house. I would make coffee. We would sit on the front porch outside, and she would give me her perspective. And I still to this day, I appreciate the Jehovah Witnesses. I appreciate their version of the Bible. It's not the King James version, it's the New Age translation, they call it, or the New World translation, they call it. And I have a copy of it that they gave me. They also gave me a mini pocket version, and the way they explained it was that they update their Bible as different translations come along. So, really interesting, but they still didn't convince me, and I have a Bible there. I don't even know how old it is, but it's really old. I have two old Bibles. The one is really old. I don't even wanna say. I wanna say it's from 1890 something. But and I had a more modern Bible, and I would pull these out, and we would all sit down, and we would compare translations and stuff. really fascinating and interesting. So, in trying to come up with arguments against Christianity, I ended up finding a much, much deeper appreciation for it that I still hold to this day. Still not a Christian though, so you know, it's all good though. And yeah, so that's basically what brought me here. So now we're here doing these live dream sessions every week. There's going to be different information. It could be anything about from how to lucid dream to the quantum mechanics and how it might connect to consciousness, to the ancient history of sacred geometry and symbolism, all those types of things. There's just so much to get into. I have a lot of different topics I want to explore. I put up a poll every week on Facebook. I'll start putting up polls here on YouTube for people to vote on which topic they want for the week. And I'll also bring on live guests, a lot of people much smarter than myself, even a lot of professionals in the field that can talk about their experience with dreams and their clients' experiences with dreams and dream work. And I got a new album coming out, so I got a lot of great music, and all of my music is also it covers these same topics. It's very consistent. Now I realized that when I put out these videos about these types of things, the type of people that it draws in are the same type of people that will like my music, even people that don't normally like rap. If they're interested in these topics, they're most likely going to appreciate some of my music at least, and then vice versa. A lot of the people that were listening to my music before, they're really starting to enjoy these videos I'm putting out because it's all the same content. And there's no shortage of topics to explore when you talk about the topic of dreaming. I always say that's a big umbrella. Almost everything ties in with dreaming as far as I'm concerned. Storytelling is the most effective form of communication between humans, all the way back to ancient primitive man. So just communication in general, consciousness, the hard question of consciousness, parallel realities, which incorporates quantum physics, and we've talked about the many world interpretations plenty of times. All of these things, ancient history, symbolism, religions, occultic practices, all of it can tie into dreams. So these are the things we're going to be talking about. So anyone who's interested in any of those things, give me a sub. Uh, I put up more structured videos than this. Every time I go live, I try to go through different bullet points of information, and we'll have the conversation, and we can talk in depth about it right there and then. But I really like to just go through the information, then I'll take questions, and then I'll repost that video edited. I'll add graphics and captions and all that good stuff to make it easier to understand and follow for people. So, the fully edited videos are a lot easier to watch. And I'll also be posting lots of shorts, all types of tips and tricks on how to visualize, practical tips that people can apply, things that you can actually work with. We're going to have plenty of philosophical discussions too, but these practical, straightforward tips that you can actually apply right away, I think those are going to help people the most, at least on the broad scale. That's what I hope for. So that's probably about it. I'm gonna call it a night. This wasn't an easy one. It took me a while to get this figured out, and I will have the I will be able to multi-stream with my camera and the correct microphone next time. So this is a bit of a rough setup, but we're still in the trial and error stages with these YouTube lives. I'm still learning. So I appreciate you guys being patient with me, and hopefully we can build some momentum over here the same way we did over on Facebook because it's great over there. I appreciate all you guys. Actually, I haven't even been checking for your comments. I'm gonna have to go through. I'll have to do all that after this video closes out, because it's just, you know, we got off to a late start tonight, and I don't have everything prepared correctly for that, but yeah, next week is gonna be all different fascinating, interesting, and curious facts about the brain, and then what we can do with those facts about the brain, what we can learn from them, and how we can apply what we learn to help us in our everyday life. And I'm going through this journey right now. I'm going to give like real time examples of what I've been going through with some of these different psychological tips and tricks. So, yeah, I think that's just about it. I might have to call it a night. Take a shower. These Thursday nights are not easy after work and everything, and trying to get the kids settled. But this is cool. It's great. It's cool to connect with everyone across multiple platforms and just to test it out and get a good feeling for it. I've really enjoyed this. Uh, I guess that's it, Dee Dee. I know you're gonna see this in the future, Dad, sister, Stephen, Cliff. If you end up popping in, all you beautiful souls, I appreciate all of you. And I think I'm gonna sign off, call it a night. So much more to talk about. Oh yeah, the fully edited version of the Angels and Demons video, the history of Angels and Demons live session that we did. That's gonna be up soon. I also have the newer version of the shadow work episode. I got graphics and everything I added to it. It's really, it came out really well. I'm really excited. So I can't wait to drop that one on you guys. You're gonna like that. That'll be cool. I'll make sure I tag all of you when I post it on Facebook, or I'll share it with you one way or another. You'll be seeing it, everyone. So I appreciate you guys. And any type of questions you have, any type of feedback, let me know. You guys know where to find me. Peace. Peace and love. Good night. I'm going to sign out on YouTube here. Sweet dreams, people.